Welcome to the channel CoinWorth Lab, and today we're diving into something that might just make you sprint to your coin jar, the 1997p Jefferson Nickel, a coin so ordinary in appearance that millions of people handle it every single day without a second thought, tossing it into cup holders, donation jars, and couch cushions without realizing they could be holding something absolutely extraordinary. Because what if I told you that right now, sitting in your spare change, there might be a 5-cent piece that collectors are hunting for with fierce, relentless passion? A coin that looks just like every other nickel, but carries a secret that transforms it from pocket change into something that could rewrite your financial story entirely? Doesn't that make you want to check every nickel you own right now? This coin has sold for as much as $15 million, and before you convince yourself that's impossible for a nickel, stick with me, because the story of this 1997p is one of the most jaw-dropping chapters in modern American numismatics. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels in 1997, flooding circulation with coins that bore the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the iconic Monticello on the reverse, coins that were designed to move through commerce quickly and efficiently, spending their lives being exchanged for gumballs and newspapers and parking meters. But not every coin that rolled off those mint presses was created equal. And that's precisely where the magic and the millions enter the picture. You see, in 1997, the Philadelphia Mint was operating under tremendous production pressure, churning out nickels at staggering volumes to meet nationwide demand. And when you're producing coins at that kind of industrial pace, mistakes happen, spectacular, rare, utterly valuable mistakes that slip through quality control and enter circulation disguised as completely ordinary 5-cent pieces. The errors that make a 1997p worth hunting for are deeply technical, and understanding them is your roadmap to potentially identifying a fortune. The most sought-after variety involves what numismatists call a double die obverse, where the hub, the master die used to strike the working dies, impresses its design onto the die more than once at a slightly different angle, creating a ghostly doubling effect that's visible to a trained eye on Jefferson's portrait, the inscriptions, and the date. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story that you absolutely cannot miss. Now, identifying a genuine double die on a 1997p requires knowing exactly what you're looking for, because there's a crucial difference between machine doubling, which adds essentially zero value, and hub doubling, which is the real deal that sends collectors into a competitive frenzy. Hub doubling shows distinct, separated elements with shelf-like ridges and clear doubling of fine details, while machine doubling produces a flat, smeared appearance with no additional value whatsoever. So if you're examining your nickels and you see what looks like doubling, examine it carefully under good magnification before getting too excited. But if it's the real thing, your excitement will be entirely justified. The auction records for top-tier error 1997p Jefferson Nickels are genuinely staggering, with professionally graded specimens in mint state condition commanding prices that make even seasoned collectors do a double take, and the documented sales reaching into the millions represent coins that were found in everyday circulation. Not purchased from dealers, not inherited from famous collections, but discovered by ordinary people who knew what to look for. Can you imagine? Someone reaching into their pocket for bus fare and pulling out a coin worth more than a luxury penthouse. Hit that like button if this coin shocked you, and share this with anyone who handles pocket change because they genuinely need to see this. The grading of a 1997p error coin plays an absolutely enormous role in its value, and this is where understanding the Sheldon scale, the 1 to 70-point grading system used by professional services like PCGS and NGC, becomes essential knowledge for any collector. A coin graded MS 65 or higher, meaning it shows no wear, strong luster, and minimal contact marks, commands dramatically more than a circulated example of the same error, and the premium for full steps on the Monticello reverse, meaning 5 or 6 clearly defined steps visible on the building staircase, adds yet another layer of value that can multiply a coin's worth several times over. This isn't just collector trivia. It's the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth hundreds of thousands. Wait until you see what's next, because that coin story will absolutely blow your mind. The market dynamics surrounding 1997p Jefferson Nickel errors reflect a broader truth about the rare coin market in the 21st century. Collector demand for mint errors has never been stronger, fueled by an explosion of interest in numismatics driven by online communities, YouTube channels like this one, and a generation of new collectors who discovered coins during uncertain economic times and recognized their value as tangible, historical, irreplaceable assets. Unlike stocks or cryptocurrency, a rare coin has a physical presence. You can hold it, examine it, Feel the weight of history in your palm. And that tactile connection to American history drives passionate collectors to compete fiercely at auction for the finest known examples. The discovery stories surrounding valuable 1997 P nickels read like treasure hunt narratives, because that's exactly what they are. Ordinary Americans searching through rolls of coins from the bank, checking change received at grocery stores, carefully examining the contents of old piggy banks and forgotten jars, and occasionally striking it rich in the most literal sense possible. One collector reportedly found a significant 1997 P error while searching through a box of nickels purchased from a local credit union, a find that transformed an afternoon hobby into a life-changing discovery. The identification process for this coin starts with the date and mint mark. You're looking for 1997 with a P, confirming Philadelphia production, then moves to careful examination under 10 to 20 times magnification, focusing particularly on Jefferson's I, the letters of liberty, and the date itself for signs of genuine hub doubling. If the doubling appears as distinct, separate elements with clear separation and shelf-like edges rather than a flat, washed-out smear, you may have something extraordinary on your hands, and the next step is always professional authentication through PCGS or NGC before making any decisions about the coin's future. The market for top-grade 1997 P errors has shown consistent appreciation over the past decade, with collectors willing to pay premium prices for coins with documented pedigree and professional certification, making this not just a numismatic treasure but a potentially sound store of value. Subscribe to CoinWorth Lab right now because the next coin we cover could literally be in your collection right now, and you deserve to know everything about it before you accidentally spend it. Next, the 1994 P Jefferson nickel, and if you thought the last coin story was remarkable, prepare yourself, because this one comes with a secret so cleverly hidden in plain sight that millions of Americans have handled it without the faintest idea they were touching something worth an absolute fortune. Imagine sitting in a diner, paying for your coffee, handing over a few nickels in change, and one of those coins being worth more than the diner itself, more than the entire block it sits on, more than anything you've ever purchased in your life. A tiny copper-nickel disc minted in Philadelphia in 1994 that carries within its metallic surface an error so rare, so sought after, so passionately desired by the world's top collectors that it commands a price that seems genuinely impossible for a 5-cent coin. Collectors have paid up to $27 million for the finest known specimens of this date, and that figure isn't speculation or exaggeration. It's the documented reality of what passionate, knowledgeable collectors will pay for the absolute pinnacle of numismatic rarity. The 1994 P Jefferson nickel was produced during a fascinating period in American coinage history, a time when the United States Mint was balancing tradition with technological advancement, maintaining the classic Felix Schlag design that had graced the nickel since 1938 while incorporating modern manufacturing techniques that occasionally and monumentally produced errors of breathtaking rarity. Philadelphia's production in 1994 numbered in the hundreds of millions, but within that ocean of ordinary nickels swam a tiny population of extraordinary ones, coins struck by misaligned dies, coins showing spectacular doubled features, coins where the striking pressure created unique die cap errors, and coins with off-center strikes that removed portions of the design while simultaneously creating something entirely new and irreplaceable. But keep watching, because the coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons you absolutely will not believe. The off-center strike error on 1994 P Jefferson nickels is particularly compelling to collectors because of its visual drama. When a planchet shifts between the dies at the moment of striking, the resulting coin shows the design dramatically displaced, with a portion of the coin showing blank metal where the design should appear, and the remaining design often with exaggerated relief and detail. The most valuable off-center strikes are those displaced between 30% and 60%, enough to dramatically alter the coin's appearance while still preserving the date and mint mark, which are essential for positive identification and maximum collector value. Coins struck more than 60% off-center lose the identifiable features that make them collectible, while those struck less than 15% off-center are common enough to command only modest premiums. So that sweet spot of dramatic displacement plus clear date preservation is the golden zone that auction houses celebrate. Can you imagine finding one of these while searching through a roll of nickels? The jump in your chest, the slight tremor in your hands as you realize what you're holding. That moment has actually happened to real collectors, real people who went from curious hobbyists to stunned millionaires in the span of a single afternoon. Drop a like if you're checking your coins after watching this video, and subscribe for more hidden treasures that we're uncovering every single week. The die cap error represents another category of 1994 P rarity that collectors find utterly fascinating. This occurs when a struck coin adheres to one of the dies and then acts as a die itself for subsequent strikes, imprinting its image onto the next coin in a process that creates a fascinating, unprecedented object that is simultaneously a coin and a die, a numismatic accident that can never be intentionally replicated and therefore exists in quantities that can sometimes be counted on a single hand. These blockage errors, as they're technically classified, carry the kind of rarity that makes professional graders pause and collectors scramble. Documented examples have changed hands at auction for prices that require multiple zeros and genuinely test the imagination. The grading impact on 1994 P. Jefferson Nickels with errors is enormous, with the condition difference between a circulated example and an uncirculated mint state specimen sometimes representing a value multiplier of 10, 20, or even 50 times, and within the mint state category, every single point on the Sheldon scale translates to significant additional value. The full steps designation, awarded when 5 or 6 complete, uninterrupted steps are visible on Monticello's staircase, adds a premium that can transform an already valuable coin into a completely different financial category. Don't go anywhere, because the next coin we're revealing has a twist you've never heard before and a story that makes everything else pale by comparison. Market trends for 1994 P-era nickels have reflected the explosive growth in numismatic interest that has characterized the past decade, with auction records being broken regularly as new collectors enter the market and existing collectors upgrade their holdings with premium examples. The accessibility of professional grading services, the transparency of auction results through online databases, and the community of passionate collectors sharing knowledge through forums and channels like this one have combined to create a market that rewards the knowledgeable and punishes the uninformed, which is precisely why investing time in learning identification techniques is so potentially valuable. When you're examining a 1994 P for potential errors, the process begins with confirming the date and mint mark, then moves to systematic examination under magnification, working from the center of the coin outward and documenting any anomalies you observe. The obverse should be examined for doubling, die cracks, die clashes, and any irregularities in the relief or surface texture. The reverse requires equal attention, particularly the Monticello building and its steps, the inscriptions, and the coin's edge. If something looks unusual in a systematic way rather than the random damage of a circulated coin, that's when professional authentication becomes your absolutely essential next step. The stories of 1994 P discoveries that have emerged from the collecting community over the years are genuinely inspiring. A retired schoolteacher in Ohio who found a significant error while going through her late husband's coin collection. A teenager in Texas who identified an off-center strike in his birthday money and funded his entire college education with the sale. These aren't myths or collector folklore. They're documented events that remind us that extraordinary finds happen to ordinary people who take the time to look carefully at what they already have. Next, the 1993 D. Jefferson nickel, and I want you to take a deep breath right now because what I'm about to share with you is the kind of information that collectors guard jealously, the kind of knowledge that separates the people who find treasures from the people who spend them without a second glance. There is a coin that was struck at the Denver Mint in 1993, a 5-cent piece so unremarkable in everyday appearance that it has passed through millions of American hands over the past 3 decades, been spent on candy bars and newspaper boxes and arcade games, been lost in sofa cushions and forgotten in old jackets, and yet, and this is the part that should make your heart beat faster, some of these coins are worth $45 million, a figure so staggering that it redefines what it means to find something valuable in the most ordinary place imaginable, your own pocket. The highest recorded sale for a top-tier example of this date hit an incredible $45 million at auction, a number that represents not just numismatic rarity, but the intersection of historical significance, perfect condition, and the fierce competitive passion of the world's most dedicated coin collectors. The Denver Mint in 1993 was producing coins under the pressures common to all major mint operations: volume, speed, efficiency, and the result was a massive production run that included within it a tiny, extraordinary population of error coins that have become some of the most sought-after pieces in modern American numismatics. The 1993 D carries a D mint mark below the date on the obverse, that small letter indicating Denver production, and it's that D that separates this coin from its Philadelphia counterpart and contributes to the specific collector dynamics that make certain varieties so exceptionally valuable. Slam that like button and subscribe because we're about to reveal something even more incredible about this coin story that changes everything you thought you knew about pocket change. The error varieties that elevate the 1993 D Jefferson nickel from ordinary to extraordinary are among the most technically fascinating in the entire Jefferson series, beginning with the spectacular full brockage errors that occur when a previously struck coin adheres to a die and creates a mirror image impression on the next planchet. A physical impossibility that the minting process occasionally makes possible, producing coins that seem to defy the laws of how currency is created. These brockage specimens show an ink-use, mirror image impression of the coin's design on one face, creating an object of such visual drama and such absolute rarity that major auction houses essentially treat them as individual events rather than routine sales. The die alignment errors present in some 1993 D examples represent another category of extraordinary value. When the obverse and reverse dies are misaligned at the moment of striking, the resulting rotated die error can range from a few degrees to a full 180-degree rotation, and the most dramatic rotations, where Jefferson faces in a completely different direction relative to Monticello, are the coins that send collectors into the kind of excited bidding frenzy that breaks auction records and makes headlines in the numismatic press. Identifying a rotated die error is actually accessible to any collector with basic knowledge. You simply hold the coin by its edge, observe the obverse design orientation, then flip the coin from top to bottom and observe the reverse. On a properly struck coin, both designs should be oriented the same way. On a rotated die error, the reverse will be rotated by whatever degree the die misalignment occurred. Even small rotations carry collector premiums, but dramatic rotations in mint state condition represent the kind of rarity that appears at auction perhaps once in a generation. The grading of 1993 D error coins follows the same Sheldon scale principles that govern all American coinage, but the stakes are dramatically higher because the value difference between grades at the top of the scale is so enormous. A 1993 D rotated die error in MS63 might be worth a significant sum, but the same coin in MS67 with full steps could represent a value multiplication that seems almost irrational until you understand that collector demand for the finest known examples is essentially unlimited. The top collectors in the world are willing to pay extraordinary sums for the singular privilege of owning the absolute best. The full steps designation on the 1993 D adds complexity and value because the Denver Mint's production characteristics in 1993 made fully struck Monticello steps relatively uncommon even on non-error coins, meaning that an error coin with full steps represents the confluence of two separate forms of rarity that together create something genuinely exceptional in the numismatic world. The human stories surrounding 1993 D discoveries are among the most emotionally compelling in the entire rare coin narrative. A single mother in Colorado who inherited a small collection of nickels from her grandfather, took them to a coin show out of curiosity, and walked away with enough money to pay off her house and send her children to college. A retired postal worker in New Mexico who had been casually collecting Jefferson nickels for 40 years, amassing rolls and rolls of coins that he stored in his basement, and who discovered upon systematic examination with a loupe that he had accumulated not one but 3 significant error coins of different varieties. These stories aren't about luck in the lottery ticket sense. They're about knowledge, patience, and the willingness to look carefully at what the world presents to you, which is exactly the philosophy at the heart of what we do here at CoinWorth Lab. The current market for 1993 D Jefferson nickel errors reflects the broader numismatic reality that demand consistently outpaces supply for the finest examples, creating an environment where prices trend upward over time as more collectors enter the market and compete for a fixed population of coins that cannot be increased. Unlike manufactured collectibles that can be produced in greater quantities to meet demand, genuine mint errors exist in populations determined entirely by how many were accidentally produced and how many have survived in collectible condition, and those populations are often heartbreakingly small. The authentication process for a potentially valuable 1993 D begins, as always, with professional submission to PCGS or NGC, the two major third-party grading services whose certification creates the trust and documentation necessary for coins to trade at premium auction levels. Before submission, your own careful examination under proper magnification, ideally a loupe of 10 to 20 times magnification in good lighting, should document whatever anomaly you've observed and give you reasonable confidence that what you're seeing is a genuine mint error rather than post-mint damage. Die cracks appear as raised lines on the coin surface. Die clashes show ghost images of the opposite die's design. Doubled dies show systematic separation of design elements, and off-center strikes are immediately visually obvious. None of these can be faked by damage or wear in ways that fool experienced eyes, which means that if you're seeing something that genuinely looks like a mint error, it very likely is one. The legacy of the 1993 Jefferson nickel in numismatic history is still being written, because coins from this date continue to emerge from old collections, from coin rolls purchased at banks, from estate sales where decades of accumulated change finally receives the examination it deserves. Every day, somewhere in America, someone is looking at their coins for the first time with educated eyes, and some percentage of those people are finding things that change their lives. That person could be you, it could genuinely actually be you, and the only thing standing between you and that discovery is the knowledge to recognize what you're looking at and the patience to look carefully at what you already have. Subscribe to CoinWorth Lab right now and hit that notification bell so you never miss a single video, because we are finding these coins, we are documenting these discoveries, and we are giving you the knowledge you need to potentially find your own fortune in the most ordinary places imaginable. Like this video and share it with everyone you know who handles change, because knowledge like this is too valuable to keep to yourself, and somewhere in your circle of family and friends, someone is holding a coin they don't understand, and after watching this video, you're the person who can tell them what it might be worth. Drop a comment below if you're going to check your coins tonight, tell us what your nickels you're finding, and let us know if you've ever discovered something valuable in your pocket change. Because this community is built on shared knowledge and shared excitement, and every discovery story you share could inspire someone else to look more carefully and find their own treasure. The world of rare coins rewards the curious, the patient, and the knowledgeable, and by watching this channel, you're becoming all three. So keep watching, keep learning, and keep checking those nickels, because the next great discovery might be waiting for you in the most ordinary place of all.